What's up, everybody? Carman here coming at you. I know you just want to see how beautiful I am. I'm here. What's up? Anyway, alright, so I got this project. Shut up, everybody, because I know you're judging me right off the bat. My $200 Escape, which was going to be done yesterday, now still isn't done because after I get it all put back together, we still have a serious vacuum leak. Welcome to Sledville. But this is actually going to give us an opportunity to help you if you do buy one of these, because these are very common problems I'm getting ready to go over. And the first thing I'm going to go over is the PCV system, PCV valve system. And that stands for positive crankcase ventilation. And basically what that does is that sucks the leftover fumes out of the engine bay, out of the engine block. When you hit the gas, it pulls this little valve right here. Here it's shaking. The reason it moves like that is when there's an excess amount of vacuum on it, it will suck out everything. Okay, but when it's sitting at idle, it sits closed, which is okay because we don't really need it. But when you hit the gas, we need all those excessive fumes and carbon out, and basically makes your vehicle a lot more efficient. So all that leftover gas fumes is running back through the intake system, and it's burning back out your carbs. You don't have carburetors. It's burning out your intake, burning through your exhaust, and coming through your cats, and it's coming out clean. Meanwhile, hate to say that's very boring, very technical, but if you clog this up, it's like putting a cloth down your throat. You can't breathe. I mean, you can get a little bit of breath in, but it's not good. And anytime you mess with the airflow or the air meter, the oxygen level that's inside of a vehicle's combustion chamber, all of a sudden the oxygen O2 sensors don't know what's going on. You start getting fuel dumps. The car just goes nuts. It doesn't know what it's doing. Now, this is actually a flawed design system. I don't care what anybody says. Been doing this way too long. The Ford, they really got it wrong on the PCV valve systems on how they run their lines, number one. Number two, they really put them in really bad locations, generally speaking. And this is no exception. So, let's talk about where it's actually located, because I happen to have the intake off of this. Alright. This right here is actually, I hope you can actually see that. But if you opened up your hood, you would be seeing the air intake sitting on the very top. Actually, you'd see a hood cover, then you see this intake. I'm going to turn it around here. Alright guys, getting out of the way. Hopefully you're seeing this. Okay, and on the back of this intake right here, it has a line that comes out. You see this guy's trying to correct this with all these fittings right here. And I'm going to tell you what's going on. So they make this thing to where it starts up here at the top, runs kind of like this, and then it disappears underneath the intake. Completely underneath the intake. And then it connects to the PCV valve, which is sitting in between the two cylinder heads, which I'm going to take you over there and show you exactly where it's located. Now, this is not something you're going to do in 5 minutes. You can do it pretty simply. Pull this out with a 23-inch socket. That's usually what they are. Let's see. Yeah. So you can unplug it with a 23, but you do have to do some fishing. It's far enough in there. You're not going to get your hand in there. You're going to have to fish it out with a socket as well as an extension to get it out. And you're going to need some light, and you're going to need to fish it out. But I'm going to show you exactly where it's located. But before I show you where it's located, because we'll get into that, here's what happens. This is why you have such a major problem. As this thing puts pressure on it, as the suction comes on, what happens is this hose right here just collapses. Let me get behind the camera and make sure you can actually see that. Alright, Alright guys, there we go. A little bit closer. Alright. So what actually happens is, the vacuum in the engine's going on, and this hose, which is sitting at a 90, basically like this, it starts collapsing, and you'll hear it going. You'll be like, what in the world? But that's what it is. It's this back hose right here. And I can't tell you I just can't even tell you. This happens on the Ford Focus, completely different engine, but it's the same design. It happens on these. It happens on the minivans. And anytime you interrupt anything with the PCV system on a Ford, game over. That car is going to run like a dog. Period. End of story. Now, to make matters worse, this is how they do the hoses. They just kind of all pop apart. It's just like these little cheap little plastics. And then you just kind of fish them around to where you want. And then, of course, it goes around the back. But you're not going to be able to see all of this right off the bat. The reason I'm showing it to you cutaway like this is so you know what you're looking at and what you're looking for. So you can reach under there first and make sure you've got these pushed together. Make sure nothing's came apart. That's your first tip. Second tip, when it's running, are we collapsed right here? Is this nice and flat or is it still nice and round? If it's nice and flat, replace this 6-inch piece right here. Or this guy actually has a pretty good idea. You can just take some, a couple hose clamps and you can keep squeezing them until that thing doesn't have the option but to stay open. So, problem 1 collapses. Problem 2, you can see this over time that this is just not going to work on a long-term basis. I mean, this just breaks apart. Usually the hose stays okay, but they do come apart. Once they come apart, game over. That's this collapsing, game over. This coming apart, game over. If the actual part itself, which listen, you don't hear anything. I don't know if you can pick that up, but it's okay. Now it's starting to move a little bit, but it should be nice and free like this. So this right here is costing me gas mileage. It's backing all those nasty fumes up. It's depositing carbon throughout the vehicle. Also, if you can't breathe, you have excessive pressure on your seals, your crank seal, front and rear main seals, all the seals inside the car that can be exposed to all excessive pressure. Not good, not good, not good. Car will not run good. It'll lose power, gas mileage, you name it. So, enough about that. Let me go take you over here and show you where this bad boy is located. By the way, you don't have to take your intake off. That would be another little sweet little project I got myself into. But it's kind of good I did because I like to share this stuff with you guys, especially when you're out there trying to make a living and you're just doing everything you can do to make it happen. Okay, guys, so let me back up off of this. You're like, holy crap, car, man. So, I've got to kind of move without falling, and I'm going to see if I can get a light. So as you see, we're on the driver's side. See the passenger for your orientation, and then your breather hose will be coming down here, throttle body, and then your intake. So all this stuff is actually covered up. This is why I'm showing it to you exposed like this. Okay, you see that black box right there? Yep, and you see the empty hole? Well, that's exactly where it goes. And you can see exactly what angle you got to come into. So it's coming from the back, and you've got to kind of nurse your way over the water jackets right here. You kind of see where it's a straight line right there. And that's all it is, man. And of course, it's lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, but it's a little bit intense. Small hands definitely help. But job can be done and must be done. Also, while you're doing this, because this is a prevalent for leaks, because once again the design, the intake is actually in 2 pieces, actually 3 pieces. It's a 3-piece design. It's got 2 little stackable ones and the big one you just seen on top. And they tend to leak, as you can see. See how that brown? That's where I was dumping fuel down there to see what was leaking and what wasn't. You see that one right there doesn't. That one has a little bit, and that one's pretty clean, but has a little bit. But you can see those back ones, man, they're sucking air like a big dog. Meanwhile, I guess that'll wrap up our PCV tips for the day, children. Hope you enjoyed, and subscribe. Support the military, I always do. And what else? What else? Got Facebook coming. I've also got new playlist. Trying to get those all done this week. Just a lot of stuff going on. Keep an eye on me. And I'll try to keep on entertaining. Meanwhile, To finish this beast, I'm going to go over a couple tips on the intake, which is the next video, which is happening in about 5 minutes. Peace out. Nothing but love from the car man. See you, baby.